Hi everybody, welcome to Sports for All. I'm your host Aiden, and today I've got a really exciting guest. So do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, I'm Ciara McCarthy. My friends are Aiden, and I am a disability activist. I mainly focus on education and many other things, but because I am multiply disabled, I kind of have to talk about everything because, it's not that easy to talk about like one thing related to disability.
Thank you so much, Kira. So good to have you, and also thank you for coming on your birthday. Like that was so special. I feel really honored. So my first question is, do you want to tell us a bit about your social action projects that you've been involved in?
So I have been involved in multiple. I have was involved with I will for a few years. And then I started a job. But I can't go to schools where I work. But you'll find out what at the end. But I've been working in the education sector. Advocating for students like a higher level and I've been mainly talking about the impact of disability in education as I know it's not easy for young people to go from high school straight into university. So in Scotland we have a system where people can go and do further education for as long as they want. It is paid for by staff. So students can go on learn about different things. We have a range of different areas. So you can do not special education, supported education,
Yeah.
where if you struggle with living independently, you can go and learn how to live independently and maybe go and get a job and stuff like that. So I've been very fortunate to get a job in that. I've also been doing social media activism. You probably have seen many of my TikToks, remember about different things. I kind of got into social media by accident. I started a school club thing in my high school and then realised I actually really like talking about my disability and here we are, I think 3 years later. Um,
Wow.
and I'm still rambling on about my disability.
Well, I think you're doing like such amazing things, and I think yeah, like you're really using that to like make change, so it's really good. So my next question is, do you want to tell us a bit about like your interest in like sports and like you're involved in?
So, for the longest time, I actually really struggled to get into sports. So, my two sisters are shinty players. So they play shinty on the weekend, every weekend. I really wanted to get involved in that. But obviously, as a disabled person, playing a very high impact combat sport is essentially people hitting each other with a stick and trying to run up and down a pitch, and I couldn't do that. So, it was really hard for me to get into something that I really liked. So I tried dancing, but the problem is it's not really a disabled group that I could really relate to, as my own disabilities are very complex. I had a lot of challenges around communication with other people. A lot of people would speak to me and I wouldn't understand what they were saying, and that was kind of one of the challenges of being deaf and disabled. Then I got into wheelchair basketball. I was actually playing for a few years. I had been playing since I was like 12. I was playing for a team, but they weren't playing competitively, and I am really into playing competitively. But I went along I think it was every Thursday night. I went along up until I got my job, and then my Thursday nights ended up being replaced by my job. I couldn't make time to go and play, and then I started wheelchair rugby, which is actually the most fun thing I've ever had. I started that a few weeks ago. And it is very like wheelchair rugby, but you're allowed to hit people with your wheelchair, and that is the thing that I love about it. And that was the thing that in wheelchair basketball, I kept being told, "Do you not want to do wheelchair rugby instead?" And I was like, "No, like you can't hit each other with a ball or whatever." And they're like, "Actually, yes." I was like, "Ah, I'll try." So I think sports and bobs out my life. I've never just committed to one. But I'm hoping rugby is where I'm going to stick.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm the same. I feel like it's like so good to like try different things as well. Like and then you'll find like kind of the one that is like, okay, yes, this is my one. And wheelchair rugby, that sounds so like interesting and so fun.
Yeah. I had like a wee group chat that I'm in with people that are in England, so we all play competitively. And I'm like saying that like I keep getting told that match was really good, but am I going to play competitively? Yes, yes I will. Definitely.
Definitely, yeah, I can see you doing that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's nice you like being able to meet other people as well, like who live in England or into it.
Yeah. It's really hard in Scotland to kind of get like disabled people. You would think that there's loads of disabled people in Scotland, but you have to actually need to find really obscure places to find them. I've made quite a lot of disabled friends. Some of them are doing wheelchair skating and want me to get involved in wheelchair skating, and I'm like, okay, I will, but I don't want to throw myself off a so like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a game, but you kind of have to jump off stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah, that actually sounds terrifying.
but that's a really good way to learn wheelchair skills, ironically. But I am slightly scared. Me and my friend are gonna try it out. I'm going away next weekend, so the following weekend we're gonna try and get me to jump off something and learn how to wheel as well.
Oh my gosh, good luck.
No.
You'll have to update me how you if you do it or not. I would be so scared.
I'll do a wee video being like
Yeah,
that.
a wee
No.
vlog.
Yeah.
I love that. So my next question is, what are some of your biggest inspirations, both in sport but also outside of sport? It's quite a big question.
But yeah, so I think my biggest inspirations for sport have been my two older sisters. They've been in sport their whole life. My little sister plays shinty, she plays like a variety of different sports as well. She plays baseball, tennis with her friends every weekend and stuff. She's very into sports. He's very into sports and my older sister as well. And I think they've been my biggest inspiration. I feel like it's been very hard to find disabled people that I've kind of looked up to growing up. I've been watching the Paralympics since I was like tiny. But I've not been able to like be like this is someone that I want to meet in like 5, 10 years. It's always kind of been very hard because the Paralympics isn't shown very publicly. You have to find it on a wee channel, which is Channel 5. And they're only showing particular sports. So like when I wanted to watch wheelchair rugby, I had to sit and watch it on YouTube. And I was like, that's not what I want to be doing.
No.
I want I want to be sitting watching it on the TV. I've kind of been watching like sports, wheelchair basketball I kind of watch. I'm kind of more into yelling at the TV and being like, get that ball up the pitch, get up. I think that comes from hearing my family say it to
Yeah.
me all my life. So yeah.
Yeah. Your sisters, they sound really good. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm like yelling at like, come on, come on. But I feel like it's so hard to see people you really relate to a lot of the time. But yeah, I think we're getting slightly better. I don't know when you were younger, but there wasn't a lot of representation at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we're getting there slowly. You can be the leading force of the rugby.
Yes.
So my next question is, what skills have you learned from being involved in sport and how have they helped you in life?
But a lot of it's just been I've learned to not be scared of being in a
Yeah.
wheelchair. I think that's kind of the thing. A lot of people will say when you get into wheelchair sports is you learn that your wheelchair is not a big scary thing. Like I used to be terrified of flipping upside down in my wheelchair and not being able to do anything. And then in the middle of a game at rugby, I nearly did, and I was like, oh, this is completely fine, like. And but so like your wheelchair's almost a part of you. Like if you flip over, what are you gonna do? Whereas if you're playing sports that like your wheelchair is essentially getting attacked every single time. You kind of learn how to like desensitize the fact that like that fear of you potentially breaking your wheelchair is actually not as scary as people may think it might be.
Yeah. Is it about taking that risk? Even
Yeah.
though it's terrifying like to think about, but
But I think sports has kind of always kind of helped in a way to like communicate to people. Like when the Paralympics was on, I in the middle of work was just watching it, and my manager kept coming over and being like, "What are you listening to?" And I was like, "Oh, basketball." And like it started a conversation in work. Like people are like, "Oh, how's the game going?" And I was like, if that's what people do when they talk about football, they're like, "Oh yeah, did you see the game last week?" But that was how we were doing it at the Paralympics. It was like everyone came in the next day was like, "Oh, how did the team do last night?" And I was like, "Oh, terrible." Or I was like, "Oh, I do really good," and they were like, and I kind of got that sense of like normalcy that people
yeah.
have where they're like they get to watch the football every night and they get to go into work the next day and go, "Oh, did you see that terrible goal last night?" It was kind of like that kind of sense of, hey, actually watching wheelchair sports isn't that embarrassing. It's actually people are very interested in it as well. Like I got a lot of my coworkers to sit and watch it as well, and they were coming back in the next day and being like, "Oh, actually, I actually don't feel comfortable you doing this sport, but I see you playing it." And I was like, "You know, see,
Yeah.
I'll Olympics one day, and you're gonna be like, I
I
knew
knew
her."
her. It's such like a nice like connector. Like I feel like it, yeah, it just really shows like how everybody can kind of connect through sport.
Yeah.
Like even no matter what kind of sport it is as well, like everybody is just like, oh my gosh, like I watched that or yeah. It's a nice conversation topic.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what have been some barriers and challenges that young people face in getting involved in sport? And do you have any like advice?
I think the biggest challenge is for disabled young people is trying to find a sport that they can get involved in. There are like disabled sports Scotland that does do quite a lot of stuff. They've invited me to go along to their sports day thing that I'm trying to figure out whether I can get off work or not. Because for me, sports has always been a part of my life. So I've always went to Disability Sports Scotland. I've always had that kind of connection. Um, while I wasn't like actively playing any sports, I was always going to these things. But obviously, for a lot of people that live up north, they don't actually have that access to sports the same way that I do. Like I just recently found out that there's a shinty team that's for disabled people. I was like, oh, like stuff like that. Disabled young people would like to find out about because yes, while in Glasgow, shinty is not a big part of our culture. In Brest and like Fort William and like the Hebrides and stuff like that. It's a big part of the culture. A lot of them speak Gaelic. A lot of them have a lot of Gaelic speaking family members. And Shinty will always be a part of their life. And I feel like if you don't get to see that connection that you're able to play sports, you kind of feel like, or everyone I know plays shinty, but I can't play shinty. Or everyone I know plays football, I can't play football. But there is other ways you can play sports. I don't know if Disability Scotland does that anymore, but there was a camp that I used to go to, and you would get to meet like Paralympic people, and they would sit and teach you how to play the sport, and they gave like quite a lot of advice on how you could become a like wheelchair basketball player in the Paralympics. Like I befriended quite a lot of wheelchair basketball players that were there, and they were like sitting talking to me about whether I was going to play competitively or not. But there's also that challenge. There's actually not a lot of teams in Glasgow that play competitively. So if you wanted to go and like become a Paralympic level, you can't because there's not a lot of teams. Like there's only one wheelchair rugby team in the whole of Glasgow. As in the whole of Scotland, actually, there's only
Oh my
one,
gosh.
and they're the only one that's able to play at a Paralympic level.
Oh my gosh, that is awful. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
so
it's crazy how there's so limited resources and clubs and stuff. It's pretty bad here as well. I've only found out recently about a few different clubs for like people with disabilities. So my next question, what advice would you give to a young person wanting to get involved but who might not have the confidence?
um, just throw yourself in the deep end. I feel like if you think about it, you want to do it. And I think if you're just really anxious that you're going to get injured, that's what sports is about. You're going to get injured, you're going to get your tail whacked about if you're playing wheelchair basketball slash wheelchair rugby. If you're playing like any other sport, if a young person that was wanting to get involved in like football or rugby, they 100% know that they're going to get injured at the end of it. If that is what's stopping you, don't let it stop you because I feel like it is a really fun world to get involved in, particularly disability sports. There's a whole range of sports that I've not actually highlighted. There's soccer, there's ice hockey, um, thing, it's called wheelchair ice hockey. You can do like there's power chair football, there's you can do frame running if you have cerebral palsy, there's like a whole range of sports that you'll see in the Paralympics, and if you're sitting there like, oh my god, I want to get to that level, I want to be able to swim really, really fast. Join your local swim team. They're not going to be say to you, no, you can't swim, because that is discrimination, and you should look into the Equality Act for that. Um, but most disabilities will be accessible, they have to be.
Mm.
It is within like Sports Scotland that most sports have to be inclusive and accessible. That is at university, college, whatever you're at, even school, they have to be inclusive and accessible. So don't let sports be the thing that stops you from playing sports. Or
I
you're
love
just
that.
from letting you play sports. That's
I love that piece of advice. Yeah, I think it's so important to if you love something, just try it. There'll be a way. you can find support you can help you break down those barriers. There's things out there that you can try, so just don't let it stop you. Don't let your disability define you. Thank you, Kira. So my last question is, what do you have planned for the rest of the year that you can give us like an insider of?
I also have a deaf event that I've been planning for a few weeks-ish. That's what kind of a spur of the moment. Hey, by the way, I don't get to see quite a lot of young people at deaf events. That is because the deaf community is kind of getting smaller due to the fact that there's no actual deaf education. There is only from I went on a deaf night out last night and we ended up in a very intense conversation about deaf education, and there's only one deaf school in the whole of Scotland, which is the Hamilton School of the Deaf, and that's not after a school of the deaf anymore, that's a overall disability school, but it is catered to people that have deafness. And so yeah, I've created a Deaf Summer Social, and it is happening on the 5th of July at the Doctor Social. So if people are really interested in getting involved in the deaf community, you don't actually need to be deaf yourself. As long as you know sign language or some form of sign language, you're very welcome to come along. But I'm kind of wanting to start creating communities in Scotland, not just deaf communities but disabled communities. But I thought, why don't we just start really small and try the deaf community, and then hopefully I expand and do quite a lot of stuff. In terms of activism stuff, I've kind of went quiet. I will continue making my social media posts. But that's kind of what happens. Activism is like a ebbs and webs type thing.
Yeah.
It depends on who's interested in reaching out, and I kind of want to get into a more of a role, like I've applied for a few jobs and stuff. But also in the general life update, I'm going to university this September. And I am going to Glasgow University, and I'll be living independently, but do that. Any
That
time.
is so exciting. Oh my gosh. What course
So
are you doing?
I am doing social and public policy.
Wow.
Um, so I'm just forcing myself to disability policy. Um, People kept telling me last night, and like every single time I meet people, and they're like, "You're going to university, what are you doing?" And they're like, "Why are you forcing yourself to learn policy?" And I'm like, "It's fun." But I sat with it for fun. So I was like, might as well put my activism experience into the work I'm doing. But yeah, I am happy to kind of step away from student politics for a wee while. Um, if any of the Glasgow unions would like me, I would be happy, but I'm kind of staying away now.
Yeah. It's obviously quite like nicely linked in. All
Yeah.
links quite nicely together. And then like I feel like you'll be so immersed in it when you start uni, you're gonna be like, no, I don't want to do any extra like advocacy stuff. Like I'm good.
Well, I'm living in home, so I have planned to like link in with Red's life there. Not for any nefarious reason. If anyone that knows me will mark, um, one of my managers has moved over, so there I will want to get involved in like making sure things are more accessible for students. I've spent a year and a half doing that, and I don't really want to like lose out on that type of thing.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I don't really want to be yelling at education sectors anymore than I have. So
Yeah.
we'll see what comes.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in the future.
Yes,
Take it each day.
yes.
Well, that's all my questions. Thank you so much, Ciara. You've been amazing. Didn't expect anything less. But
Thank you.
yeah, it's been really great, and I'm so excited to hear like everything you get up to the rest of the year.
Yeah. That will be a short for me and you, I guess.
Yeah. You'll have to come back on and like give us a big life update.
Do I guess, guys, that's everything I've done since then.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It would be great if you could give it a follow and if you could give it a rating. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne or on X at Eden71003.